Go Figure TV. Revolutionary salute. Revolutionary salute. Like, share, subscribe. Welcome to the House of Revolution. You know I'm your humble host, the Yao Mean of Revolution. We got a war in the Americas as the dictator imperialist Trump surrounds Venezuela, but the Venezuelans refuse to kneel. Before we get into that, be sure to wipe your feet. That means hit the like button. You in the House of Revolution. Like, share, subscribe, support the platform, y'all. Salute, Queen. So we got to get, revolution is a way of life, and revolution is for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I got some revolutionary dinner for y'all. War right in our backyard. What is America doing? We didn't vote for this.
3 U.S. destroyers carrying 4,000 Marines are heading in the direction of Venezuela. According to the White House, the mission is to target drug cartels that traffic narcotics to the United States.
So you've probably heard that the U.S. State Department has placed a $50 billion bounty on the head of Venezuela's 7th president, Nicolas Maduro, allegedly for involvement in trafficking narcotics into the United States. As you also just saw, the situation is escalating into a potential war scenario, with U.S. Navy destroyers heading toward Venezuelan waters, and Maduro reportedly mobilizing 4.5 million military reservists across the country to defend against the potential U.S. invasion. Now, there are those who believe that Nicolas Maduro is actually the leader of a drug ring called El Cartel de los Soles, which Donald Trump is heroically trying to smash for the protection of the American people. Then there are others who believe that El Cartel de los Soles is a figment of the US imperial imagination as it seeks to manufacture consent for a military invasion of Venezuela, primarily to seize control of the world's largest oil reserves, among other resources. Now, for the record, I'm of the latter persuasion, but that's not important because my opinion is not important. What is important is what the facts say. And what do they say? Well, they say that while Mr. Trump rattles his sabers and tries to start a war in South America under the guise of trying to protect the American people from a narco president, there is another president who has actual, well-documented links to the international drug trade, whom the Trump administration's Department of Justice is currently shielding and protecting in U.S. federal courts right now at this moment. Meet this guy. Nigeria's president, Bola Tinubu, has an FBI file which is at least 2,500 pages long, according to the FBI itself. The bulk of this revolves around the 1993 drug trafficking investigation, spanning the cities of Gary, Indiana, and Chicago, Illinois, where Mr. Tinubu was identified as a kingpin figure in the heroin trade, importing heroin of up to 96% purity from Southeast Asia via Nigeria using a complex network of smugglers and couriers. Mr. Tinubu was actually the subject of a publicly viewable 1993 forfeiture order, where $460,000 was seized from his account, being, I quote, proceeds of narcotics trafficking. Now, very curiously, instead of Mr. Tinubu's story ending there as just another drug criminal, his name started popping up repeatedly in Nigerian politics just under a decade later. If you go to WikiLeaks and type in the search keyword Tinubu, you notice that after somehow becoming governor of Nigeria's Lagos state, his favorite pastime seemed to be talking to the US ambassador or the US consul general. I mean, a lot of conversations. Like political assets being regularly debriefed, kind of a lot. Eventually, in 2022, with Mr. Tinubu's ducks aligning for a potential presidential run, yours truly decided to finally call bullshit and publish the story, which had been suppressed in Nigeria for close to 30 years. Shortly afterwards, yours truly teamed up with American FOIA activist Aaron Greenspan to file a Freedom of Information request and a federal FOIA lawsuit against the Department of Justice, the FBI, the DEA, the IRS, the State Department, and the CIA, requesting public release of their Tinubu records. If you're familiar with the name Pablo Noriega, it doesn't take a genius to work out that when a known drug trafficker becomes friendly with the US government and then gets into political office in a country that the US government considers useful, there is a 102% chance that he's being used as a US foreign intelligence asset, with a 2% margin of error. So this legal process, which began in October 2022, has been subjected to every kind of legalistic foot-dragging and courtroom gamesmanship in the book, with the agencies involved all claiming that privacy interests somehow trump any public interest in a disclosure about the criminal history of a serving president. Then eventually some of these documents were released by the FBI, only for them to be heavily redacted. Wow. Instead of the requested 2,500 pages of material, just over half.
Revolutionary salute to our queen. Not a lot go harder for becoming a member to the House of Revolution and helping me keep the lights on. Revolution is a way of life. Absolutely appreciate the love and the support, queen. Salute.
Half of this number were released, detailing the 1993 cross-agency drug trafficking investigation. But all pages that mentioned Tinubu's name were taken out. for national security. The DEA even said the following in a filing last November: the only relevant public interest that weighs into the calculus for the purposes of Exemption 7C is the citizens' right to be informed about what their government is up to, not what Tinubu was up to. In other words, yeah, blah, 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 public servant, but this public servant belongs to us, and his records are none of your business. In the same filing, the CIA basically confirmed what was already visible to Stevie Wonder.
Understand what y'all hearing. We already talked about this story before here on this platform about the president of Nigeria being a CIA plant. That's why they thought they could use him to go against Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the military of Nigeria. They were going to use them to attack the revolutionary nations, but Russia stepped in with advanced weaponry, so that didn't work out. But the reason they were able to control Nigeria, it's all kind of different reasons. But the latest reason is because they put a drug trafficker in power. But he's not going to talk about it, but the man has ties to Obama. Who put him in power? Well, Obama's chief of staff, David Axelrod, put him in power. David Axelrod is a handler. But so I started off with this because while they're talking about drug trafficking and they going against drug traffickers in Venezuela, they put drug traffickers in power.
It said human sources can be expected to furnish information to the CIA only when they are confident the CIA can and will do everything in its power to prevent public disclosure of their cooperation. In the case of a person who has been cooperating with the CIA, official confirmation of that cooperation could cause the targets to take retaliatory action against that person or their family or their friends. As we speak, this case is still dragging on, with even Aaron Greenspan himself accusing his own government of deliberately delaying disclosure as a favor to Mr. Tinubu. Now, why in the world would they be doing that? If only the answer could have been a little more obvious. The point is, whether the so-called Cartel de los Soles actually exists or not is a pointless debate to have. Whether Nicolas Maduro is simply a socialist president that Washington doesn't like, or a narco presidente with horns growing out of his head, isn't an issue that needs much argument. Because there's documented history and an ongoing obvious comparison that shows that the US empire has absolutely no problem with drug dealers and narco presidents, as long as they stay in line and do whatever they're told. If Venezuela's oil wealth belonged to ExxonMobil and Chevron instead of the Venezuelan people, Nicolas Maduro could get away with everything that Mr. Tinubu has got away with, including trying to execute children for protesting. And Donald Trump wouldn't be sending warships anywhere. Once you think of the empire as a global extortion racket, it all starts to make sense.
Maduro is a great revolutionary. Long live Hugo Chavez, was a great revolutionary. So the truth is, this is about oil and imperialism. That's what this is about. And the U.S. continuing their imperialist ways, but they definitely bit off more they can chew. I'm just like I told y'all. Any war we look at, we not wrong here on this platform. We study this shit. I told you everything was gonna happen in the Middle East, everything was gonna happen in the Ukraine war. Everybody was wrong. Not co-figure. I'm here to tell you, the U.S. will never defeat Venezuela. That's a pipe dream. You're not gonna take any of their oil. That's a big lie. That's a big finesse. This is a distraction, but it's gonna be another humiliating distraction, just like fucking with the Yemenis rebels. The Houthis was a humiliation for Trump. He's gonna be humiliated fucking with Venezuela too.
When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next to us.
Breaking news. The U.S. press secretary says Maduro is not a legitimate president. He's the president of Venezuela. He is a legitimate president.
His parents were out of wedlock?
And say that they've been trying to overthrow his
My mother and father never married. I'm ashamed.
And they've been trying, and the United States has been trying to. They did coup Venezuela in 2002, I think, but then got Chavez, I think it was, got right back in power. And so they've been trying. And why? It's because there's oil underneath Venezuela. Venezuela has more oil than Saudi Arabia, and that's what this is about.
And the Koch brothers built them refineries a long time ago. They even get to use specialized Venezuela oil refinery.
That's right.
Which
so
I thought
the Koch brothers built specialized because the The oil under Venezuela is heavy crude, not light sweet crude, which comes from Saudi. So it's heavy crude, so it takes extra refining. And so the Koch brothers built these refineries right on the Gulf of Mexico in the United States, or the Gulf of America.
Yes, I was going to correct.
And then Venezuela said, well, we're going to charge you more for the oil. And they were like, what? We're going to try and overthrow you. And that's what they've been doing ever since. They've been trying to overthrow him, and this is just more of it. But they're doing this now also. There's several reasons, but this is also another Epstein distraction. They're trying to do everything they can to distract you from Epstein. Everything in there. The U.S. is prepared to use every element of American power to halt drug flows. So now they're saying Venezuela is exporting drugs. Hey, by the way, fun fact. Did you know that all it takes for you to be standing on all it takes for you to be considered a illegitimate leader of a country is for your country to have a lot of natural resources? That's all it takes. Yeah. It's good.
Need some freedom.
Yeah, it's a good thing America came along and straightened you out. Yeah. Suddenly now the drug flow out of Venezuela is a problem. You know, when you're trying to distract from funding a genocide, why not just steer into the skid? Just start another war somewhere else. That's what this is.
But Venezuela's not on our border. Really those drugs that they're flowing.
It's really racist. They're saying any Latin American nation, and it's crazy because people that think like that because they condition us to think like all blacks are criminals. They condition people to think all Latin American people got their word. Any of them should have cocaine or marijuana. That's just a fact, man. Just like they condition people think all black women or some type of boppers or something. All black dudes is in gangs. That's what TV said. They also all Latin American people got access to drugs. So when Trump say Venezuela dealing drugs, everybody think of Venezuela got that coke. Man, get the fuck out of here.
Must go through a lot of other places on the way to America, don't they? That's the point where the drugs have to be stopped at Venezuela.
Right? So Trump has mobilized 3 destroyers and 4,000 Marines going towards Venezuela right now. So that's what Trump's doing. Mr. Peace, Mr. No War is going to go try to overthrow with the military another sovereign nation that is not a threat to the United States.
By the way, they won't win. We won't win.
And we're not. No.
It's like, what are you doing?
Then he said the fentanyl.
So
Trump said too much fentanyl. Maduro hooking up with cartels. They sending fentanyl. He got to send 3 warships. Y'all been saying China was doing this for years. You ain't send no war. Send your warships to China. This going to show you. But they always looking for something soft. Always looking for somebody they can bully. That's going to go bad for them.
Here's somebody did a little report on this.
The Trump administration is now openly threatening to invade Venezuela, and there are already warships and Marines on the way. Listen to what Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt had to say about it.
Venezuela, and there's 4,000 Marines on board. Are you looking at possibly boots on the ground there? What I will say with respect to Venezuela, President Trump has been very clear and consistent. He's prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. The Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel. Maduro, it is the view of this administration, is not a legitimate president. He is a fugitive head of this cartel who has been indicted in the United States for trafficking drugs into the country. With that, I will leave you all, and we will see you later, if not tomorrow, and I look forward to taking more of your questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Carol.
These people say Putin not a legitimate president either. They just can't send their military. They say Putin is not a legitimate president. Neither is Kim Jong-un. They just can't send their military, but they're going to get what they're looking for, trying to go play with Venezuela.
Caroline, thanks for threatening to invade a sovereign nation that never attacked us, Caroline. Yeah.
And she sounds like she's using those drugs that she says are coming out of Venezuela. I don't know if you... Boy, hang on, there's more to this.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, leave it at that.
The media is so pathetic. And what an absurd justification for invading a country. Did you know that the more U.S. troops that have been sent to Colombia, the more that narco trafficking has increased? And that's because the U.S. doesn't care about narco trafficking. They're mad that Venezuela has a socialist government, which means Western corporations can't pillage all of their oil. Trump has even said that himself. He's explicitly said that he wants to go in and get all of Venezuela's oil. Like, how could anyone believe that the U.S. wants to send troops to the country with the largest oil reserves in the entire world for freedom and democracy, or to stop narco trafficking? We know what you did in Iraq. You can't fool us with this anymore. And you know what'll happen if the U.S. military topples the Venezuelan government? It'll create a whole bunch of Venezuelan refugees, and they'll come right here to America where Trump and his friends will scapegoat them for all of our economic problems. These people create immigrants, and then they blame them for everything. Hands off Venezuela, you scumbags.
So just to remind you that Trump actually did say that he was going to steal their oil. Remember this? Watch this. When was this from? This is from a campaign rally in the fall of 2024.
How about we're buying oil from Venezuela? When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
We would have taken over Venezuela. We would have gotten all their oil.
Yeah.
It's right. That's what this is all about.
Wait.
Trump, Mr. Peacemaker, is using the military to steal natural resources from another country for corporate America. Just no matter who you vote for, you get John McCain.
Wait, remember when the stupid sanction on Russia that made our gas go up? Remember that genius move of oil sanctions that hurt us? So they went and had to beg Maduro for oil.
Remember that? Remember that? I remember that.
Oh, it was about to collapse. Juan Guaido, the guy that moved back there, if it's so bad, that makes no sense, and gets beaten up by people in restaurants that just live there because they hate his guts. We had to blow this guy for oil just a couple years ago.
That's a good point, Kurt. The U.S. sends 3 warships toward the coast of Venezuela. Maduro mobilizes 4.5 militia members, 4.5 million militia members. 3 U.S. Aegis guided missile destroyers are set to arrive off Venezuela's coast within 24 hours, part of the Trump administration's effort to counter threats from Latin American drug cartels. Okay. He already told us what the real deal is when he was campaigning in 2024. This is because he wants to steal their oil.
Venezuela's below Colombia, right? I'm not making that up. Colombia is above Venezuela on the map, so you would probably go to Colombia first. Oh, that's right. Sean Ryan and all kinds of great Navy SEAL podcasts come out of dealing drugs in Colombia.
Right. As per Reuters, the deployed American ships are the USS Grant. Who cares what the name are? The U.S. military had also previously announced on August 22nd that air and naval forces would be deployed to the Caribbean with more than 4,000 sailors and Marines as the Trump administration shows increasing willingness to use military force to combat drug trafficking in Latin America. That's not what this is. They're not combating drug trafficking. These military assets are to operate in international waters and international airspaces across several months. Okay. The mobilization of the U.S. military assets follows Washington's recent decision to increase the bounty on Maduro's capture, doubling it to an unprecedented $50 million. Last week, Attorney General Pam Bondi announced the seizure of assets worth $700 million from the Venezuelan head of state. So this is the same stuff they do all the time. This is it. Does anybody?
Well, when Trump announced Juan Guaido the rightful ruler of Venezuela, that's the one spot Nancy Pelosi wasn't getting up and tearing his speech apart.
Yeah,
they were all bipartisan together on that stupid shit.
Well, I'm going to tell you, World War III, 4, and 5 are going to happen before there's an official release of the Epstein files.
Or anything.
In an official statement published on Tuesday, the Venezuelan government says the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela observes with total clarity the desperation of the United States administration, which resorts to threats and defamation against our country. Washington's accusation that Venezuela is involved in drug trafficking reveals their lack of credibility and the failure of its policies in the region.
I can't argue with that.
In response to the increased U.S. military presence in the Caribbean, President Maduro announced a plan to mobilize 4.5 million militia members across the country. This would be part of a plan of peace with militias that would be prepared, active, and armed, the leader said on live television. Maduro then further urged his political base to mobilize into rural and industrial militias, rifles and missiles for the rural forces to defend Venezuela's territory, sovereignty, and peace, he claimed. Speaking to allies at a political event on Monday evening, Maduro affirmed to defend sovereignty. Our seas, our skies, and our lands are defended by us, liberated by us, guarded and patrolled by us. No empire will come to touch the sacred soil of Venezuela, nor should it touch the sacred soil of South America. No empire in the world. He did not mention the U.S. ship deployments. The leader did, however, question the presence of U.S. military bases in Colombia, which he qualified as an humiliation to the history of independence in the region. There are approximately 76 U.S. military bases in Latin America. But according to the U.S. Department of 76 U.S. military bases.
Can't stop the drug flow with them bases?
In Latin America.
Oh, that's weird. They got to go further south.
But according to the U.S. Department of State, the U.S. provides security assistance to Colombia to promote the country's stability and security. Really, that's what they're doing?
Amazing job, guys. Amazing work. You should do great in Venezuela. That's going to work out great.
Let's just remind you one more time what this is all about.
How about we're buying oil from Venezuela? When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
We would have got so that's why you put economic sanctions on Venezuela, to try to collapse their economy, so their government collapses, and so that we could go in, install a puppet like Juan Guaido, who's friendly to American corporations, and then we could steal their oil and their natural resources. That's what this is all about.
Well, it'd be funny if if our government collapses before any of these governments they're trying to collapse. Wouldn't that be? I mean, I won't enjoy it because I live here, but I could see how you'd laugh.
Do you remember when they tried to coup the government in Venezuela just a couple of years ago? And
we didn't send our best.
And they when Trump was president, and they tried to pretend that Juan Guaido was the real legitimate president of Venezuela, even though when Juan Guaido goes to a restaurant in Venezuela, the citizens beat the crap out of him. He can't go out.
Why would he move back there?
So this is from Al Jazeera. This is from May 7th, 2020. A coup attempt was allegedly foiled in Venezuela. The 2 U.S. citizens have been arrested by Maduro's government, and a Florida security company has claimed responsibility for the incursion. Those are my guys. This is real. Here we go.
Just pay piglets.
So we know what happened.
Hello.
We know what happened. Pelosi claps as Trump calls Nicolas Maduro a socialist dictator before giving a standing ovation as he introduces failed fascist coup leader Juan Guaido. The bipartisan agenda to topple socialism and destabilize the region in the name of big oil interests is on full display. Let's watch.
Is leading a 59-nation diplomatic coalition against the socialist dictator of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro. Maduro is an illegitimate ruler, a tyrant who brutalizes his people, but Maduro's grip on tyranny will be smashed and broken. Here this evening is a very brave man who carries with him the hopes, dreams, and aspirations of all Venezuelans. Joining us in the gallery is the true and legitimate president of Venezuela, Juan Guaido. Mr. President, please take this message back to your
That's crazy.
There it is.
Well, he carries the hopes and dreams of the surviving Koch brothers.
I like as he's sending the military into cities and arresting people, homeless people, and he's claiming Maduro is a guy who's a brutal dictator and a tyrant to his own people, brutalizes his own people. As Trump puts 45,
no.
yeah.
Why don't we invade England if we're worried about shit like that?
Yeah. And by the way, we're never going to defeat Venezuela. How do I know? Because we haven't done it for 80 years.
You know, name the wars we won. Don't say Grenada. I'm not counting it.
Yeah. Name a war we won.
That's something, isn't it? To have a military industrial complex and then never win a war ever the fuck again. There's nothing wrong with that, right?
I want to win.
I'm sure that's not the
The
problem.
war to steal our money.
I
So
actually
they
have
fight
jokes
war.
about
They
Venezuela.
don't
You
give
can
a
come
shit
see
about-
me tell those
that's
jokes
the
in
bad
Rutherford.
part. They don't give a shit about winning the war. It's horrible for those troops who just trying to pay their bills because they're gonna lose another war. Venezuela gonna kick their ass. They ready for the guerrilla match. The U.S. is horrible at guerrilla fighting, but they don't care because they can take $1 trillion from us and say they fighting drug traffickers and fighting against fentanyl and battling Venezuela. $1 trillion out of our pocket. They get the trillion. They lose another war.
For New Jersey, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver, Appleton, Wisconsin, Rosemont, Chicago, Louisville, Kentucky, Fort Wayne, Hermosa Beach, Sacramento, and San Francisco. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for those tickets.
If you didn't think we were America First enough, here's some wonderful America First news. Donald Trump might be overturning Venezuela in a regime change. Doesn't that sound so America First? Toppling this guy, Maduro, for what reason? You and I don't really know. We don't really fully understand. You know, they say, oh, it's about democracy. It's about communism. It's about drugs, cartels, claiming it's about all kinds of things. But the United States has officially sent 3 of its destroyers to the coast of Venezuela. This is on top of
if they're gonna overthrow a communist regime, then go overthrow China or North Korea. But this is the point where communism and capitalism it shouldn't be debated no more. The U.S. done killed, they done killed 100 million people trying to stop communism. All the Venezuelan wars, all the killing of the leaders in Africa in the 60s, that was all to stop communism. All the killing of the South American leaders throughout the 60s and 70s and 80s, that was to stop the so-called spread of communism. Killing all the people in Europe after World War II was to stop the spread of so-called communism. The war in the Koreas to stop communism. And China is a communist nation. So people look at China and they look at the U.S. like, what are y'all talking about? You lost that war. You lost it fighting to the Soviet Union. Now China, one of the world leaders, one of the most richest nations, and now people looking at them for leadership. That's a communist nation. So saying you have to fight Venezuela over communism, man, that's just the same old lie, and people should be tired of that shit. The big dog in the world is a communist nation, and that's China. And you don't want that smoke, you just talk about it.
Top of Venezuela already having U.S. military presence at their border in the ocean there. And now the U.S. has sent off 3 of its destroyer ships. Okay. Venezuela then mobilized practically their entire militiamen throughout the country. 4.5 million have now been mobilized in Venezuela, saying that the Maduro actually said after this deployment of the ships, he says, no empire will touch the sacred soil of Venezuela. This is also after the United States doubled the reward, the bounty on Maduro's head, saying if you can arrest the guy, it's double the bounty. So that just happened a couple of weeks ago. So we've got double the bounty on the guy. That raised alarm bells that there was a regime change going on. Suddenly now we've got more destroyers heading to the coast of Venezuela. This starts feeling more and more like a regime change every day. America First style regime change. And there's people that are actually supporting this. I can't believe my ears on this one. Alex Jones, of all people, who've been, anti-establishment, questioning everything, all of these things. Alex Jones is like, yeah, let's go for it. Watch this.
Now, I don't like any of these wars, not Gulf War, not Gulf II, not Afghanistan, all of it. I've been against all these wars, Ukraine war, all of it. But if you look at U.S. doctrine and wars that we fought before that were right, it's in Latin America. This is our sandbox. And Venezuela is a communist.
Never fought no war in Latin America that was right. All of them was wars of conquest. All this our sandbox. What the hell are you talking about? This our sandbox. You don't get to tell people in South America what the fuck to do. That's white supremacy and imperialism. See, sometimes these people, he can't help himself. He can't help himself. But he's trying to talk he's trying to convince MAGA to be down with a war of conquest, something that they said they didn't want. War, period. He's trying to make it seem like it's a good thing.
Dictatorship with the biggest oil reserves per square foot in the world. Their people are absolute slaves.
That's a lot. They slaves.
And I don't like regime change.
Their people are slaves. What a joke.
But they are manipulating our elections. They are flooding us with fentanyl. And if there were surgical strikes to take out the communists, there'd be an uprising, and they could have elections, and it would be a good thing.
They got the communists. See, they train Americans. You hear communists, you're like, oh, they're like, there's somebody worthy of death. That's how they train their population. When you hear communists, oh yeah, you can kill them, ain't they the Nazis? That type of bullshit. That's not right. Remember, they was hounding down our leaders, saying they was communists, going after the Panthers, trying to kill Dr. King, still smeared him as a communist, whether he was or wasn't. These white supremacists, they label you that, they say you deserve to die. It's like that is so disrespectful and a bunch of foolishness. Oh, target China. They're communists. Yeah, you're scared, ain't you?
Good thing.
What is he talking about? First of all, I thought China was flooding us with, excuse me.
Same thing.
I thought China was the one. I need to get a drink of water.
So I'm not one to ever push offensive stuff, but they started it, so it's really defense.
They started it.
So I'll say it.
Salute. They started it. Venezuela started it, y'all.
I am for removing the Venezuelan dictatorship. But by the extension, the cartels back down and have basically slashed fentanyl production 90+%. I mean, they're killing their own people that do it. That's well known. And even in mainstream news. So it's kind of like,
what a finesse. He got the word. So you got to skip over Mexico. If you say you're going to combat narcos, and people would think, damn, America, you don't have to get on those ships. You got a border with the narcos, just take care of your business. But you got to explain what you doing on warships going to Venezuela. The cartels, drug trafficking is down 90%. What the hell are you talking about?
Like Trump, I'm going to come get you in Mexico now because of what you did before. And the CIA was basically allowing all that, running a lot of it.
Okay. I just want to say, he's saying, Venezuela's flooding us with fentanyl. We were told China was flooding us with fentanyl so that we could justify going after China. But now we're using it to justify going after Venezuela. He then says Venezuelans are slaves. They're not living in a democracy. They're living under communism. That's not our problem. For one, they're not slaves. And actually, the last time we committed regime change in Libya, one of the many times, it actually...
The Venezuelans are slaves. No, the people in Saudi Arabia are slaves. The people in the United Arab Emirates are slaves. The people in Kuwait, Bahrain, those where the slaves are. The Arab world, y'all buddies. That's where the slaves is at. Where they got 100 wives and 3,000 concubines. That's where the damn slaves is at.
Created real slaves, like actual real slaves, people sold in a slave market, and not just, you're calling them slaves because they're working for communists or they work and they make no money or whatever you think slavery is. Actual real slavery happened when regime change was affected in Libya. So maybe it's not the best idea. Maybe we don't have the best track record. He says we have a great track record in Latin America. We do regime change all the time. That hasn't worked for us at all. This is why we've had a flood, which Alex Jones talks about all the time, the flood of immigration coming in from South America, Latin America, Central America, right? All this flood of immigration coming in. Why is that? Because we've been doing regime change and messing with these countries for decades and decades and decades. And the people are poor and they flood to us. And then we say, it's their country's fault and that's why they're flooding us. No, it's because we put sanctions on them. We try regime change. We keep them poor. We do stuff like this rather than just saying, you know what, operate your country the way you want. Do what you want to do. We'll do business with you. If it's good business, if it's not good business, then we won't. And we'll just leave it at that. But instead we do all of these things like put bounties on leaders' heads, sanction them, put blockades on them, send warships after them. I mean, we are aggressive. And I can't believe that Alex Jones is actually supporting this obviously very clearly an America First agenda.
Under Obama and then under Trump's nose, and then, with Biden, it got worse. So by that extension, I mean, for those that don't know, Trudeau allows the use of it. It's decriminalized, and they turned a blind eye to its production. Most of it comes out of Canada now. That's on record. So,
let's go after the Canadians. I mean, who's making the fentanyl and who's giving the fentanyl to the Americans? Who's poisoning our Americans with fentanyl? Is it China? Is it Venezuela? Or is it Canada? Well, that's a reason to take Canada. We can make them the 51st state.
Yeah, do we have a right to go blow up the cartels? Yeah. But they rolled over, basically. Venezuela is the 800-pound gorilla.
I thought it was China.
So, whether you're for it or not, it's about to happen, in my view.
Okay, that's true. Whether you're for it or not, it's about to happen.
Cartels rolled over. So Alex Jones, this dude is crazy. Alex had a good run, but he losing his mind on some shit. Alex Jones said the cartels has rolled over, y'all. They're not. He said drug trafficking is down 90%. That's what he said. What the hell are you talking about? Boy, there'd be murder mayhem all throughout the streets of the U.S. way worse than this right now. That was true. But it's not. Prices be sky damn high. But they not. Because you're lying. But they're trying to make excuse on why they're not at war with the cartels. Why is it Venezuela? Well, we don't have to war with the cartels. The cartels done surrendered, Alex Jones say, and they changed their ways. And they no longer selling cocaine. Now they're selling vegetables and stuff like that.
Happen, but he clearly is for it. He seems to like it. By the way, all of his supporters raked him over the coals over this. No one who watches the show was happy about this stance. They don't agree with him. They're calling him a shill. They're saying, "Oh, now you've sold out to the establishment." It's a good question. Alex Jones has been in a lot of financial trouble. He's bankrupt. Had to sell off a lot of stuff. It's a question of who's financing him now. And I think it's a fair question. Bro. Is he being financed by somebody who clearly wants Venezuela to be toppled? I mean, maybe. And maybe that's why suddenly he has this imperialistic go and topple them stance. And it's a good thing for us in America to do it, because it was good for us to go into Iraq and Afghanistan, Libya, Somalia, all these places. Do you notice any of it as an American? Did any of it actually affect you at all, whether we went into these countries or not? No, this is just, why are they going after Venezuela? It's a good question. They're really just trying to stop China's influence from growing, Venezuela having a massive oil reserve, and China and Venezuela being friendly. This is a threat. China's influence is growing, and this is really just a ploy to try and stop China's influence. That's really all that this is. But we very well might be seeing in the next few weeks an actual toppling of Maduro in Venezuela, with the bounty increase, with the destroyers heading over.
You're not going to see in a few weeks. You might see a war, but you're not going to see the toppling of Nicolas Maduro. Man, please. That's not going to happen. They wanted the $50 million bounty, like I said before, was to get the military to do it. Because they know damn well they're not going to be able to invade Venezuela, and they're not going to be able to send their troops into Caracas, the capital. This is nonsense. Let's stop. They're hoping somebody inside his entourage will kill him and take the $50 million so the U.S. can fly Juan Guaido in, say he the president, they can start stealing all the oil. But that's what they wish. That's not what's going to happen.
Over there, it is very possible that Maduro goes down and Venezuela goes into complete chaos. And when that happens, we're going to see floods and floods of people coming up, trying to come up into the country.
Venezuela got one of the most powerful militaries in the Latin damn world. There's not a puppet military. That's not. Come on, you couldn't even take out the Taliban. You couldn't get you couldn't get the leader of the Taliban, but you're going to get your hands on Nicolas Maduro. We need to think about reality here. This is not a movie. It doesn't matter about all the big, shiny weaponry we have. We've been through this before. This is not the type of war, guerrilla campaign. You have to put your boots on the ground, go through jungles, all that type of shit. They not finna be able to do that in Venezuela. This is nonsense. They want the Venezuelan military to get Nicolas Maduro. They saying, fuck you, gringo. Bring it on.
And Trump then, who knows what will happen at that point? I mean, he's not going to let them in, but we're going to see them flooding the borders, flooding or I don't think Venezuela will topple that easily. I mean, it's possible, but the Venezuelan people, I mean, we've seen, they're willing to fight. In fact, let me show you this. This is an older video.
They've been trying to do this shit 100 years.
But the military often does kind of showcasings. The Venezuelan military does showcasings like this all the time. And what they're saying is, listen, Yankee, to what I'm going to tell you. You will never intervene in my country. Listen here, little gringo. We are already prepared with Russian weaponry. We are waiting for you. We are your Latin American Vietnam.
Come on, bro. That's right. They got Russian weaponry. They got Chinese weaponry. They got what? They was trained by the Cubans. See, the Cubans is their real OGs. The Cuban revolutionaries. Fidel Castro, it was their hero, and their great leader Hugo Chavez. But they got advanced weapons. The U.S. said they sent warships. They can sink them warships. They can shoot down planes. They got air defense. Come on, the U.S. government are never gonna tell Americans that, because they never want us to know what we're facing. Because they always want us to just think we're so powerful we can just go squash anybody. That's just nonsense, bro. And everybody should remind them, you just lost the people who had sandals on their goddamn feet. Come on now.
Thank you for watching this clip from the full
What's China got to say about this? Because China be getting a lot of oil too from Venezuela, so I don't think they're gonna take too kindly for it.
China has waded into the Venezuela crisis, warning against outside interference and the use of force. Beijing urged Washington and other countries to respect Venezuela's sovereignty, calling for calm amid rising tensions.
China opposes any move that violates the proposals and principles of the UN Charter and infringes upon other countries' sovereignty and security. We oppose the use or threat of use of force in international relations and oppose external interference in Venezuela's internal affairs.
The comments came as Venezuela's president, Nicolas Maduro, urged millions of militia members, reservists, and civilians to enlist in defense of the country.
I have called for next Saturday and Sunday at military barracks, military units, central public squares, Bolivar squares, and at the headquarters of the 15,151 popular bases for integral defense, for a process of national enlistment of all militia forces.
What they never gonna show is, see, remember they said they people slaves. They ain't never gonna show these people throughout Venezuela happy, showing up, love their president, love their revolution, love their freedom. It's true. So but they brainwashed America. They want you to think this is a dictator, and they got the whip out, forcing people to defend him like he's Pharaoh or something. It's crazy.
Of the entire Bolivarian national militia, I call on all militiamen, militia women, reservists, and all people who want to enlist and join the ranks of the great national plan for sovereignty and peace.
Maduro's appeal comes as the U.S. builds up naval and marine forces in the southern Caribbean. The Pentagon says the deployment is part of a campaign to target drug cartels that threaten regional and U.S. security.
Cartels have engaged in historic violence and terror throughout our hemisphere and around the globe that has destabilized economies and internal security of countries, but also flooded the United States with deadly drugs, violent criminals, and vicious gangs.
The Trump administration labels Maduro's government a narco-terrorist regime and has raised the bounty for his arrest to $50 million.
President Trump has been very clear and consistent. He's prepared to use every element of American power to stop drugs from flooding into our country and to bring those responsible to justice. The Maduro regime is not the legitimate government of Venezuela. It is a narco-terror cartel.
While the Pentagon emphasizes countering criminal threats, critics warn that the buildup risks escalating into a direct confrontation with Maduro's government.
Of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, to participate in the Caribbean in this unique scenario full of history where the most emblematic battles gave the definitive independence to our homeland and sister nations of Yugoslavia, rest in oil.
We gathered here today, representatives of all the political, social, economic, and cultural sectors of the Venezuelan nation. This sacred chamber is the seat of the Declaration of Independence of our Republic. Here we are accompanied by the gaze of American heroes, the sowers of freedom throughout the continent. We have come together to ratify the unshakable decision to defend the sovereignty of Venezuela. The Venezuelan men and women reaffirm our commitment to peaceful cooperation among nations. We uphold the principle of non-intervention and the self-determination of people. We commit to safeguarding sovereignty, nationality, and the higher interests of the nation. We repudiate hostile actions, threats, and terrorist plans aimed at undermining our mandate. That mandate was given to Nicolas Maduro Moros, President of Venezuela, for the period 2025-2030. He is the constitutional president and commander-in-chief of the Bolivarian National Armed Force.
He may have a Venezuelan ID card, but his soul is dead. If he does not feel Bolivar, if he does not feel freedom, if he does not feel this flag, if he does not feel the homeland above any difference. This is not the time for political differences or colors. One flag shelters us, yellow, blue, and red. This homeland is impregnable. Nobody will touch Venezuela. Nothing and nobody will touch Venezuela. International law prohibits the threat of the use of force against sovereign states. And the use of force against sovereign states. So what is done every day against the people of Lebanon, of Syria, what was done against the people of Iran, against the people of victorious Vietnam in the 60s and 70s, against the people of Iraq, against the people of Afghanistan, to destroy them with justifications of various kinds. What was done against the people of Libya for regime change is illegal. And those who threaten to attempt a regime change in Venezuela, a terrorist military strike, it is immoral, criminal, and illegal. I thank all the institutions and sectors of Venezuelan society. And I thank the governments and people of the world for the solidarity, the support they have given Venezuela today, and the unanimous global rejection that the United States would open an armed conflict in South America and add it to its failures of Vietnam, Afghanistan, Iraq, Libya, U.S. imperial power failures. This is an issue of peace, of international law in Latin America and the Caribbean. Because whoever attacks one in Latin America attacks all. Whoever threatens one threatens all countries. So it is time for courage, to bring together effort, to gather national will, to put aside minor or internal differences. It is time for Venezuela to speak with one voice. The voice of truth, the voice of the homeland, the voice of the right we have to peace, to development, to harmony, and for the self-determination of our people, our sovereignty and our independence to be respected above all else. I met with the Chinese ambassador these days, a meeting of about 2 hours, reviewing all the plans in every sense very good. And China is ready to buy all the food we produce, all and more. Also, Indian investors are ready to buy them because they are very interested in Venezuelan food. Because we are going to produce it organically, healthy, then there is a big wave. China has 400,000 inhabitants. It is a big market, right? Whoever sells them, for example, mangoes to China, say 10 million mangoes, they will still buy 100. And India has 1,400 million inhabitants, a big market, right? Russia. Today, the vice president had a long and good conversation with our dear friend, Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. And Sergei Lavrov confirmed all the economic alliances that are going well. All the investments in all the fields where we are working together. And also, Foreign Minister Lavrov confirmed President Putin's greetings to Venezuela, and especially to his friend, President Nicolas Maduro. Putin, brother of Chavez, godfather of Nicolas Maduro, with the favor of Almighty God the Father, of all the saints, with the favor of the immortal spirit of the liberators, rest assured that Latin America, the Caribbean, and Venezuela will continue to be a territory of peace.
I salute the Declaration of Consensus of National Union and call on all Venezuelans to subscribe to this consensus for peace, for life, and for national sovereignty.
presentation. What are Venezuela's chances of overcoming this U.S. siege? Conceição, Venezuela has withstood many U.S. sieges. The Bolivarian Revolution is already in its 20th, 26th year. The United States has already imposed sanctions, the United States has fueled coups, and Trump himself has threatened military intervention. The United States supported a self-proclaimed president, ceding Venezuelan assets to him. The Bolivarian Revolution is based on two major factors: popular mobilization and the integration of the armed forces into the revolutionary process. Based on these two factors, the Bolivarian Revolution has defeated all attempts at destabilization. Therefore, Venezuela is excellently positioned in terms of its ability to resist the United States and also has significant international allies, such as China and Russia. The Venezuelan armed forces have long since ceased to depend on weaponry from the United States or its allies. Yes, Venezuela's level of technological and military sovereignty is quite high, and the armed mobilization of the people to defend the country has been a construct of Zavismo for many years. I'll repeat something I gave in my presentation. 4.5 million people mobilized in the last few days, in the last few hours, as President Nicolas Maduro announced. 4.5 million people mobilized to defend the country. It's a formidable contingent, and this is part of the construction of the Bolivarian Revolution. Bruno Giuliote, a new member of the Brino channel, could you talk a little about your Maduro militia? What is it really about? Look, Venezuelan militias are inspired by experiences adopted by other countries. It dates back to World War II. The Soviet Union, for example, in the fight against Nazism, also created popular militias. What are popular militias? It's the integration of non-military personnel into the armed forces and military intelligence. In the case of the Soviet Union, during the war, under the command of the Communist Party of the Soviet Union, or regular intelligence, militia or guerrilla intelligence, in the event of the country being attacked and occupied, would operate in defense, sabotage, and combat against a potential invader. This model was adopted by the Soviet Union and then by the Vietnamese during the French and American occupations. Finally, the Cuban army is also organized around these formations. These formations also play a role in Cuban strategy and military doctrine. They are paramilitary formations. They are not directly integrated into the professional structures of the army. They are mechanisms through which the concept of war for the entire people can be implemented. One time, Bruno, I was doing a report on Vietnam in 2010, that was it. And I had the opportunity to visit the Higher War College of Vietnam. And there I asked, well, hypothetically, if China decided to invade Vietnam, because there's a dispute that's now lessened between China and Vietnam, what would the Vietnam army do? Or if another foreign power, like the United States again, decided to invade Vietnam, what would the United States of Vietnam do? Quote, his answer was curious. It was nothing. If China decides to invade us, they will invade us from north to south, but they will be destroyed on their own Vietnamese territory, not by conventional warfare, but fundamentally by the war of the entire people, by these militia organizations that have Vietnam. I had the opportunity to see a mobilization of these Vietnam militias. They took me to an administrative building in Hanoi, which must have had about 20,000 people working in an administrative center in Hanoi, right? Well, at a certain time, a whistle blew, a siren, and I could see it through the windows, because it was a glass building, right? With many large windows, the siren blares, people leave their workplaces, public servants were working there in the administrative center. I saw through the windows that people were coming down a staircase. It took about 5-10 minutes. All those employees were in uniform, with rifles in their hands, in military formation, in the courtyard of this administrative building. This is the war of the entire people. These are the militias. Venezuela has a similar system, arming the people to defend the country. Not placing this task solely on the shoulders of the army, not just the armed forces, but also on the shoulders of a fifth force. Because in Venezuela, you have the army, the navy, the air force, you have the Bolivarian police and the Bolivarian National Guard. Sorry, but the fifth force are the militias that operate in an integrated manner, the armed forces. I hope I was able to answer your question. Hey, Revelino A. Varello, who contributed here to the super chat. Good evening, Brino. With this threat to Venezuela, we also run this risk. And if this happens, how would our BRIC allies react? Look, the United States is fighting for the survival of its imperialism. The United States will not accept losing the imperialist role it built in the 20th century and beyond without resistance. The United States will resort to every means to prevent its decline. We must be very clear about this. There are no limits to U.S. imperialism. History is full of proof. I return here to a point I made in Gustavo Petro's statement. 56 military interventions out of 50 between 1954 and 1989, 56 military interventions. So, it's clear that Brazil could be the target of such an operation. Why is Venezuela the one suffering the main attack? Because there was a political revolution in Venezuela. The Venezuelan state no longer has any kind of structural ties to U.S. imperialism. All of the Venezuelan state's institutions, the executive branch, of course, but also parliament, the judiciary, the armed forces, all of the Venezuelan state's institutions have passed from the hands of the old Venezuelan oligarchies associated with the United States to the hands of the working classes and the organizations that represent them, such as the United Socialist Party of Venezuela. Criticisms can be made in Venezuela, but this is a reality. Political power no longer belongs to the Venezuelan bourgeoisie, although the Venezuelan bourgeoisie still holds considerable economic power, but political power no longer belongs to them. This means that the United States cannot predominantly interfere within Venezuela through internal mechanisms of political dispute, although it also resorts to these mechanisms, but they have failed one after another. Therefore, this means that the only viable alternative, in the eyes of the United States, to destabilize Venezuela is external pressure, military, economic, and financial pressure. This type of pressure is not exclusive to Venezuela. Cuba has been suffering this for over 60 years. For over 60 years. And Brazil is beginning to feel the same kind of pressure. Let's not kid ourselves. There's no point in acting like a good guy. That doesn't alleviate imperialist pressure. The United States is playing for objectives, it's fighting for strategic objectives. Good behavior, in many quotation marks, won't slow the imperialist escalation. There's no chance of that happening. And the Brazilian left better stay alert, and focused. In the event of escalation to a military invasion, Venezuela doesn't have the military might of Iran, even without a bomb. Remember that China and Russia weren't directly involved in the Iran situation. Very worrying. Look, Zoya, that's not a possibility in the very short term. As I said, it's likely, and this is the Venezuelan government's analysis, that the United States is operating in a stage of psychological warfare. Now, this idea that it's impossible to resist American forces in the event of war is an idea peddled by imperialism, right, by American films, by American literature. It's also peddled by leftists who always cower when the United States barks and barks, right? This has nothing to do with history. A weak country like Venezuela defeated the United States right after defeating France and Japan. Isn't that true? Cuba has been under a blockade for 60 years. Besides resisting the blockade, Cuba was thrown out when a counter-revolutionary task force in 1961, financed, armed, and trained by the United States, attempted to invade the island in April 1961. Then, the Spanish Empire, which was immensely powerful in the 10th century, was expelled by Simon Bolivar's troops. This idea that the United States is militarily invincible is the idea they like to peddle and that, unfortunately, sectors of the left buy into. That defeatism, that belittling that sometimes takes over the Brazilian left, that perception that, wow, we can't do any more, we're weak, we can't handle pressure, that feeling of inferiority, that, as Nelson Rodriguez said, that, unfortunately, affects us. It's not true that the United States is invincible. The peoples of the world have already demonstrated that they can defeat imperialist armies. And Venezuela is preparing, has always been prepared for this, has always mobilized for this, and has been defeating the United States for these 26 years. One shouldn't have a catastrophic or pessimistic view of this, about the Venezuelan people's capacity for resistance. If it helps, look, I know Venezuela quite well, and I assure you that if the United States attempts direct military action, they will suffer. Of course, they are far superior, technologically they are far superior in terms of weaponry, but that doesn't decide a war of occupation. A war of occupation depends on infantry, on placing soldiers in the territory. And I assure you, Venezuela has a high level of resistance.
Next week, Russian President Vladimir Putin will embark on a 4-day visit to China, reinforcing the deepening strategic partnership between Moscow and Beijing. The Kremlin has confirmed large-scale negotiations between Russian and Chinese delegations, alongside Putin's attendance at the SCO summit in Tianjin. Russian media and posts on X highlight this visit as a pivotal moment, signaling tighter alignment between the two powers amid escalating tensions with the West. The talks aim to reshape global alliances and challenge Western dominance in a shifting geopolitical landscape. Negotiations will focus on trade, energy, and security cooperation. Since Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine, China has become a critical economic partner, purchasing vast amounts of Russian oil to offset Western sanctions. New trade deals, potentially including technology transfers and infrastructure projects, are expected to bolster this partnership. Bilateral trade has skyrocketed by 170% over the past decade, with both nations pushing for further growth. The SCO summit will serve as a platform for Putin and Chinese President Xi Jinping to advance their vision of a multipolar world, countering US influence through regional security and economic collaboration. Putin and Xi, who have met over 40 times in the last decade, call their relationship a global stabilizing force. For the US and its allies, this visit raises concerns about a stronger Russia-China axis, potentially complicating efforts to isolate Russia diplomatically and economically over Ukraine. The Tianjin summit and bilateral talks could yield trade agreements impacting global energy markets and supply chains, affecting prices and availability worldwide. For the US, this alliance may challenge its influence in Asia and beyond, raising stakes for upcoming US-Russia talks. Putin's visit underscores a bold move to cement a partnership that could redefine global trade and power dynamics, leaving the world watching how this shapes peace efforts and economic stability.
What could become the biggest development in financial history and completely change the future of the US dollar. Beijing has a new plan to position itself as the new anchor of the global financial system, using the exact same playbook the United States crafted nearly 50 years ago. And if China pulls this off, it won't just accelerate de-dollarization, it will rip away one of the strongest reasons for holding dollars in the first place. Let me explain how. You see, America's rise as a financial superpower actually began in Saudi Arabia many decades ago. Washington struck a deal. The US would guarantee Saudi security, and in return, the Saudis agreed to sell their oil exclusively in US dollars. That simple arrangement created the petrodollar system, and it kept global demand for the dollar sky high. Every nation needs energy to survive, and for most of modern history, energy meant oil, which also meant US dollars. But now the world is shifting. As countries move away from oil and towards renewables, one nation has emerged as the undisputed leader, China. And that's why Beijing's next move is so effective. China is proposing to leverage its worldwide dominance in renewable energy to replace oil with electricity as the foundation of global trade, backing the Chinese currency with electricity. In other words, an electricity-backed Chinese currency to rival the petrodollar. This could be a financial revolution in the making. A system like this would flip the very mechanics of world trade on their head, giving China the kind of structural dominance America has enjoyed since the 1970s. And today, we're going to break down exactly how such a system would work and the massive geopolitical consequences it would unleash. Let's get into it. You see, our world is changing, and oil is finite, volatile, and increasingly becoming a relic of the past. Electricity, by contrast, is the universal energy form of the modern world. Every nation consumes it daily, and demand is only accelerating with the rise of electric vehicles, massive AI data centers, and renewable-powered economies. An electricity RMB would work like the petrodollar system, but with power instead of oil. China could expand cross-border energy projects, high-voltage transmission lines, regional power grids, and renewable mega projects, and require that electricity exports be paid in renminbi. This would push countries holding on Chinese power to hold RMB reserves, gradually internationalizing the currency. With long-term contracts and stable pricing, the system could create a predictable market for electricity trade, effectively anchoring the renminbi to the fastest-growing energy source of the modern era. Now, this plan will require two major conditions. First, China must be able to provide massive amounts of energy to meet global demand. And second, the United States would have to squander its nearly six-decade lead in energy dominance. Not only do both of these shifts appear to be happening rapidly, but in many ways, they have already taken place. China has long recognized that energy is the cornerstone of the 21st century, but the United States has struggled to keep pace. Across nearly every area of policy, Washington has grown complacent, clinging to outdated assumptions instead of preparing for the challenges ahead. A reliance on American exceptionalism and faith in its own narratives have left the country dangerously unprepared for the energy realities that will shape global influence in the decades to come. In the United States, electricity demand is skyrocketing. One of the largest drivers of this surge is the race for AI, which relies on massive data centers that consume tremendous amounts of energy to power their servers. Earlier this year, the Trump administration announced the $500 billion Stargate project in conjunction with OpenAI, but it is already facing major setbacks. The demand simply exceeds the capacity of the American grid. The U.S. electricity grid is simply unable to keep pace with AI and other emerging technologies of the 21st century. This shortfall is the result of bipartisan failure by American politicians to plan for the long term. New electricity generation in the United States has remained largely stagnant since 2005, while China has seen massive year-to-year leaps in energy output. Think about how much technology has advanced since 2005. When putting that into perspective of having no increase in energy output, this statistic becomes all the more incredible. US politicians frequently stress the importance of competing with China in AI. But how can that competition succeed if the grid cannot even support the power requirements of the AI models themselves? This reality was highlighted in a viral article from Fortune magazine, which recounted a visit by Chinese AI experts to the United States. They were stunned by the fragility of the US grid, leaving them with the sobering conclusion that this race may already be over. The article points out that in the US, large-scale infrastructure projects depend heavily on private investment, but most investors expect a return within 3 to 5 years, far too short for power projects that can take a decade to build and pay off. In China, by contrast, the state directs money towards strategic sectors in advance of demand, accepting that not every project will succeed, but ensuring the capacity is in place when it's needed. Without public financing to de-risk long-term bets, the US political and economic system is simply not set up to build the grid of the future. Now, this isn't just about powering AI data centers. The US grid is also unprepared for the explosive growth of electric vehicles. In 2024, global EV sales topped 17 million, up more than 25% from the year before. And by 2035, they're expected to make up nearly half of all auto sales. Yet, America's infrastructure is still built around gasoline. Charging networks are inadequate, and the grid simply can't handle the surge in demand that widespread EV adoption will bring. These failures stem from decades of complacency built on cheap oil. U.S. energy dominance may have mattered in the 1970s, but it doesn't in 2025. Washington still clings to the drill baby drill, pouring money into outdated, polluting, and costly natural gas. Meanwhile, China saw the shift many years ago and invested heavily to lead the world in renewable energy. I'm going to detail all of the new and amazing energy projects that China has launched and how they're going to change the future of electricity. But first, give me a few minutes of your time, as I want to introduce you to today's video sponsor, DeFi Technologies, which trades on the NASDAQ under the symbol DEFT and plays right in today's video topic of de-dollarization and how you can prepare yourself for the future. You see, we all know that the US government will keep printing dollars for many years to come. And that's exactly why assets like gold and Bitcoin have surged in value over the past 2 years. DeFi Tech is a global, profitable business riding the wave of decentralized finance and crypto adoption. But here's the amazing part. This company has consistently outperformed Bitcoin for more than 5 years. It just announced record quarterly results, and with a trailing PE ratio of only 9, is now trading at a serious discount. Now, I've studied this company a lot, and in fact, I've featured this company many times on this YouTube channel. In my view, the crown jewel of DeFi Technologies is its most reliable and recurring business model. asset management. Through its subsidiary, Valor, the company creates and issues exchange-traded products.
The massive in the world increasingly shaped by geopolitical rivalries and shifting alliances, the warming of relations between China and India stands out as a development with quite far-reaching implications. At the heart of this thought is a high-stakes meeting that took place on the sidelines of the BRICS summit back in October of 2024 in Kazan in Russia. There, Chinese President Xi Jinping and Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi sat down face-to-face, and that meeting signaled a joint desire to stir the countries toward a new chapter of cooperation and hopefully increase stability despite a recent border conflict. That meeting marked a turning point between the two countries. For years, relations between the two Asian countries had been quite strained, particularly since the border clash of 2020 that cast a long shadow over bilateral engagement. But now there is a quite noticeable shift. The message is clear. China and India, two Asian civilizations and modern powerhouses in their own right, are once again exploring how to coexist peacefully and hopefully productively. And the tariff war and the ongoing trade tensions seem to serve as a catalyst for this power shift. The diplomatic thaw didn't happen overnight, however. They returned to high-level dialogues, meetings between top officials that signal trust is slowly being rebuilt. That was the first step. Foreign Minister Wang Yi's recent visit to India has become a crucial piece of that puzzle. It comes just weeks before Prime Minister Modi's planned visit to China on August the 31st to attend the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Summit in Tianjin. The visit will be PM Modi's first trip to China in over 7 years. So it is clear that Wang Yi's visit to India is no routine diplomatic stopover. He traveled to India at the invitation of National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who himself actually traveled to China back in December for key security talks. These ongoing conversations are part of a larger mechanism that both sides have put in place to maintain diplomatic connections, particularly in light of their disputed border territory.
Having seen a difficult period in our relationship, Excellency, our two nations now seek to move ahead. This requires a candid and constructive approach from both sides. In that endeavor, we must be guided by the three mutuals: mutual respect, mutual sensitivity, and mutual interest. Differences must not become disputes, nor competition conflict.
And let's be honest, nobody really expects centuries of rivalry to vanish with a few handshakes. The new dynamic is helping both countries navigate their differences more constructively, and also it helps them show a certain degree of alignment on some key issues. After all, both states are members of the BRICS bloc. It appears that the goal of this new shift is to prevent border tensions from hijacking the broader relationship. And this is, I think, something that truly gives hope that the diplomatic approach will prevail, and hopefully it will do so in the broader region too. Because when border disputes dominate headlines, cooperation in trade, in foreign direct investments, technology, culture, and other avenues, it tends to fade into the background. And so it does appear that India and China have begun to explore the path of broader regional dialogue in light of India-US tensions and, of course, in light of the ongoing US-China disconnect when it comes to such issues, such important issues as Taiwan and, of course, trade tensions. With all of that being said, for two neighboring nations that are home to over a third of the world's population, cooperation isn't just ideal, it is quite essential. As the world's two most populous nations and two of its largest emerging economies, China and India have everything to gain from closer ties. For the United States, however, this represents a bit of a wake-up call, although arguably not many in Washington are paying attention. Their economic structures are not just competitive, but also complementary in key areas. And by focusing on common ground rather than on their differences, the two sides can unlock quite tremendous potential for both economic development and regional stability in terms of security. Recent talks in Beijing between Wang Yi and Indian External Affairs Minister Jaishankar reflect this growing optimism. Wang Yi emphasized the need to, quote, aim high and to think long term. His Indian counterpart, who is a truly stellar diplomat, responded in kind, effectively pledging India's willingness to work with China, not only for mutual benefit, but for the broader good of the entire region. Of course, that's a lot of diplomatic talk, but the key here is that there is quite a bit of alignment now between the two countries, and if it continues to move forward in this type of a positive manner, the Indo-Pacific region could indeed benefit from more stability and from both countries maintaining a dialogue. There's no need for a third actor here if the key regional players find common language. And let's hope that the third player, which of course I'm referring to the United States, gets the memo, although it is quite doubtful. The good news is that both India and China have started to move in that direction. If you follow the news, you may notice that even people-to-people exchanges are picking up again, and there's been a subtle shift in New Delhi's attitude toward Chinese investment. While some measures are still falling short of expectations, the intent is there, and the intent does matter. China has consistently approached its relationship with India with a strategic, big-picture mindset. It sees the bilateral relationship not just as a regional affair, but as a component of global stability, which it clearly is. India, in turn, must meet China halfway, which it appears to be on that path. That means backing up diplomatic gestures with meaningful actions, not just reacting to external pressures like tariff threats from Washington. Because if this warming of ties is merely seen as a knee-jerk response to American trade aggression, it actually risks being viewed as temporary or worse, disingenuous. China's state media, including China Daily, has been quick to dispel the notion that improving relations with India are the result of US sanctions. According to Chinese officials, the thaw in China-India ties began well before the United States imposed tariffs on Indian goods. The historic meeting between Xi Jinping and Modi at the BRICS summit last year was the real catalyst. And the United States pressure has been increasing. In late July, President Trump announced a sweeping 25% tariff on Indian imports. His administration cited high Indian tariffs, regulatory hurdles, and India's growing cooperation with Russia, especially through energy deals, as the reasons for those new tariffs. That penalty, which of course it was a type of a punishment, took effect on August the 27th alongside another executive order that imposed further sanctions for India's continued oil purchases from Moscow. But from China's perspective, its engagement with India isn't about countering the United States. It is about building a stable future in Asia, one that isn't defined by friction, but by cooperation. And so that to me, is the key takeaway. As two major voices of the global south, China and India are integral components of the emerging multipolar global framework. And together, they can champion a world order that favors dialogue over domination and development over division. A dialogue where militarism becomes a thing of the past. Now, that might sound too hopeful, maybe, for now, but it does appear that New Delhi and Beijing might be moving in that direction. A stable and productive relationship between China and India can drive growth across Asia, it can stabilize regional politics, and it may offer a counterweight to growing unilateralism and protectionism. It could also open new avenues in areas like green energy, digital innovation, and cross-border infrastructure. Let me know what you think about this recent development. I would love to hear from you whether you think that there is a possibility for China and India to truly improve their relations. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Follow me on Substack and
evidence than you need, than the evidence that has been submitted in the first 6.5, 7 months of the Trump administration. And you think this is going to get better? You think if we just say, well, Mr. Trump, it's fine. We know it's a race to the bottom. You may call upon those other states. Can you just do 5 and California will stand down? Yeah. God damn it. Enough. Yeah. Democrats, stop being weak. Step up. These guys have been dominating the narrative. They have been defining the terms of the debate. It's time to get on our off our heels, onto our front toes. It's time to do just that. Dominate the narrative, flood the zone, and surround sound. It's time for us to all band together.
Next on deck with Tim Black.
So there you go. You got Gavin Newsom, man. He wants to be the harder, tougher white meat. He's saying, hey, you Democrats, you sons of bees, you need to get out of here. Cut the candy ass stuff. Let's get in line. Let's give it back. Yeah, see, the word is out that the Democrats are tired of getting their asses kicked by Donald Trump. And what they need now, they need is a tough-talking Newsom.
I'm sorry. I know some people's sensibilities. I respect and appreciate that. But right now, with all due respect, we're walking down a damn different path. We're fighting fire with fire, and we're going to punch these sons of bitches in the mouth.
Rally the troops. So get everybody to take a moment and, duet. Oh, talk like Jasmine Crockett.
If you could tell Donald Trump anything tonight, what would you tell him?
I would tell him to grow a spine and stop being Putin's hoe.
He didn't lose his seat. See, Gavin Newsom's not in that type of situation. It's all upside for him. See what I'm saying?
The governor's incompetent. Gavin, I know Gavin very well. He's an incompetent guy with a good line of bullshit, and he doesn't get the job done.
Little late on the tough talk. I mean, I get the theory. I understand the theory. You're saying the Democrats are tired. All the polling says Democratic voters are tired of the Democrats because the Democrats don't do anything. The Democrats don't fight. The Democrats don't stand up. See, the only problem with that theory is that Democrats, they can stand up all they want. They can't do shit. Why? Because they lost everything. See, when you lose and the rabbit got the gun, all you can do is duck gunfire and live to fight another day. That's all it is. Gavin Newsom is trying to set himself up for 2028.
Do Democrats want it? Okay, do Democrats want it? This, I think, is the trend line that I think says it all. Democrats want their leaders to what? Try to stop the GOP or work with the GOP? You go back to 2017, you see here, work with the GOP took the cake at 74% compared to just 23% who said to try and stop the GOP. But now I'm going to come over to your side of the screen, Laura. Look at 2025. I'm coming as close as I can. 57% say they want the Democratic leaders to try and stop the GOP, compared to just 42% who say they want to work with the GOP. That is a major shift. What are we talking about here? Some quick math up here is 34% rise in terms of the percentage of Democrats who want their leaders to try and stop the GOP. So no wonder Gavin Newsom, he's looking at this polling. He's saying, I can generate attention. This is where the Democratic base is. And right now he seems to be following the Democratic base.
Next on deck.
And so I got no problem with him doing that. I got no problem with him saying that. It's a good way to play into it. And of course, it's going to get all types of leeway that most other people would not get. Why? Because he's a white guy doing it.
All that reputational damage that's being done as they're sitting there on horses with American flags running through soccer fields, scaring kids that are playing soccer in the middle of the day at a summer camp. For what? Just toughness. It's a weakness masquerading as strength. That's what I don't like about this son of a bitch. I don't. And forgive me, I know he's the president of the States. Forgive me, I didn't, yeah, he calls me new scum. Come on. How to explain that to my kid? Now I have my kids' friends calling my kids new scum. That I get, because I was called that in 7th grade, but not by a 79-year-old. Model better goddamn behavior, man. Forgive the goddamn.
And then it's going to be acceptable to him.
All that is an A.
And you know what's said about it? For a lot of people, it's going to work. Speaking of it working.
I'm not voting for no nice guys. I'm voting for the first fucking killer that I see. I don't want fighters anymore. Fighters lose. I want killers. I want the political movement to disenfranchise black people, to harass them, to have people jumping out of unmarked vehicles, snatching people off the street, the people that erased Jackie Robinson, the people that make black kids drink dirty water. I want it gone. I don't know if that's Gavin Newsom. I've talked about the fact that, you see Gavin Newsom on Fox, you see Gavin Newsom in different places, and he's impressive when he's up against someone, when he has an enemy to debate with. He's impressive. I'll say this, though. He's a standard corporate do-nothing type of, he is. He's a, and I wouldn't say do nothing.
Yeah.
But he's a standard corporate Democrat, and I am so fucking sick of those guys. Like watching Cory Booker and Hakeem Jeffries cosplay as NWA.
But wait for it. He's a piece of shit. He's a standard Democratic rat, scumbag, do-nothing politician. But what, Van?
None of that fucking shit moves me. Give him credit for something that's resonating with people. I absolutely do. And the reason why I give him credit is because I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm not voting for any fucking nice guys. Decent. You must be decent, but you must be on fire about dismantling the political movement that threatens people's lives.
Next on deck.
And see, this is why I have a fundamental problem with not just Van. He's just a representative of a weaker class of Black American pundits or people that are basically handpicked by the establishment to come out here and get in front of us and then say the same old shit. Tired liberals say. Midas touch bullshit. Listen, man. Gavin Newsom ain't a genuine article, and anybody can't see that Gavin Newsom, what he really is about. This guy, he vetoed reparations on his own damn pen. I mean, this guy is horrible. I mean, how could anybody, how could you come on my platform and talk bullshit like you was a damn brother, then be supporting this guy, then say all this shit about him and throw in a couple F-bombs as if that inoculates you from me roasting you for this? It's ridiculous, man. What is wrong with people? And this is what this is my problem I had with progressives. They're not progressives. This is what I have a problem with liberals. They're not liberal. This is what I have a problem with the Black progressives. They're not even more progressive than the white progressives. It's the same progressives. And this is what I got a problem with the pundits, the whatever these people are, the people that get to go on TV, who are allowed on these platforms. You're allowed on these platforms because you get bullshit takes like this. That's all it was. Gavin Newsom doesn't deserve a vote because he ain't gonna do shit. He's all showing, man, what man spends as much time on his hair as Gavin Newsom that should ever be taken serious? Didn't we learn our lesson from John Edwards and John Kerry? I mean, what are we going to get it, man? The only difference between
Gavin Newsom and John Edwards and John Kerry, his name isn't John. That's it. Nobody wants these guys. These guys are not, and it's just talk. At the end of the day, Trump will sit there and sign up bad policy. That's what you don't get. You don't understand this. He's not all talk. That's why they want his head on a platter, electorally speaking. That's why it's so hard to stop MAGA, because a guy came in and lived up to the bullshit. See, the reason why Trump has been so invincible and has won his primary 3 times is that he's the only one willing to carry out what he puts out. It's even shocked the system of the Democrats because they're so used to bullshitting and not having to do anything that they've short-circuited themselves. They can't accept it. They can't understand it. They can't run against a guy who actually tries to do what he says he's going to do, even if some of it is bullshit. Well, even if a lot of it's bullshit, even if most of it's bullshit. To not write checks your ass can't cash. And then the ones you wrote you couldn't cash, people turned out not to really give a shit anyway. Sort of like Van Lathan doesn't give a shit. Because the guy that can sit there and say, hey, I'm not voting for nice guys. I'm voting for killers. As if killers don't get killed. DC sniper John Allen Muhammad, he got the lethal injection. And I ain't talking Ice Cube. People that jump out of unmarked cars. You mean those things that's been happening to us forever that you never complained about not once on your podcast? Number 2, black children drinking dirty water. Go after those people. So now you agree with me about going after Obama. I appreciate that. I was waiting for you to come around on that one, Skip. Gavin Newsom is a standard loser, corporate Democrat. You know, you want a Mike Tyson. You don't have a Mike Tyson. You don't have a star. You don't have a star. And here's the problem. A star's just got to be there, man. A star's already got to be a star. You can't make somebody be a star. You can't give them the it. They got to have the it. And I'm sorry, but this shit, this William Shatner overacting bullshit won't get Latinos and blacks to vote for his ass. So y'all, keep hope alive, man. Keep hope alive, man. Unimpressive. But I understand what you need. You're just not going to get it from Gavin Newsom. You ain't going to get it from Pete Buttigieg. You're not going to get it from Tim Walz. If the strongest words you got is weird, and then, just admit it. Democrats are weak. They were trying to rally around a guy calling people weird. I'm not saying you don't have a shot because J.D. Vance is garbage. Trump made sure he got an empty suit in J.D. Vance.
You've got to be yourself. You've actually got to talk to people honestly about the issues. I don't think it's that complicated.
It's like a strategic move. Somebody unimposing, sort of like Mike Pence. I almost forgot his name. It's so, Jesus. It's so boring. Right? J.D. Vance is right there on that street. So I'm not saying you don't have a chance because Trump cannot run again. But Jesus, just off the residue of Trump, J.D. Vance will beat the brakes off Newsom. Newsom or Hot Wheels can't be president.
So a lot of brothers and sisters are really speaking out and waking up about the issues in this country. And you got our sister right here. She gonna cook them folks. Oh, because you know what? When you look at how this country is $37 trillion in debt, $37 trillion. Listen, if you know somebody not good with money, you don't really let them continue to be, handling the money, right? And these people, they claim they have such a high IQ. Oh, they claim they're so smart. Yet they're $37 trillion in debt. And counting, right? Let's go ahead and play what our sister had to say because she really gonna speak for a lot of us.
I'm gonna go on record and say this country is up because of white people. Y'all been running. Why y'all sit up here and talk about black people and brown people and how we come in this country and take, and the Mexicans come in here and immigrants come in here and migrants come in this country and da-da-da-da-da-da. But the reality is y'all motherfuckers been running the country. So it is fucked up because of y'all, because of white people. That's it. It ain't got to do with nothing other than you mother and y'all greed. That's the need to be talking about. How y'all sitting up here trying to hide your hands like y'all ain't got us in this goddamn predicament in the first place. Y'all and y'all mother racist ass views. Y'all and y'all mother mayo infused ancestors. Y'all got us here. So how do I get us out? It's y'all responsibility to get us out. Y'all been running the country. So we'll wait to see what y'all want to tell us that y'all gonna do to fix it. Because y'all put that stupid in there knowing he was dumb, knowing that got a 3rd grade education, knowing that is slow. He kind of got y'all, and now y'all mad at the world because black people said that, because the Mexicans, y'all went y'all stupid ass out there and voted for them. Oh, Mexicans for Trump. And look at your stupid, yo, I swear to God. This point is not funny, but you gotta laugh to keep from punching up a goofy in the face. You gotta laugh to keep from losing. Your black people have always found humor in this because we know how y'all mother get down. Y'all ain't never with us. I don't give a how many black friends you got. Y'all ain't never with us like that. Stop fronting and acknowledge that y'all this country. Don't try to be allies with us now, man. If y'all, that's exactly how I feel. I don't want to be allies with y'all. I really thought when I was teaching yoga that I had an ally, and I quickly learned that them mother is all about self. The moment that they feel like we getting out of line or we getting too big, they want to pull us back to where we were. All that Kamala, that people, man, the mothers will never change. They'll never change because they ain't willing to hold their ancestors accountable. While black people have been focused for so many years on breaking generational curses, you need to think about breaking generational curses. Black people talk all the time about how things happen and generational curses happen and how so many of us are trying to break those curses. But where are y'all when y'all are needing to break those curses within your own families? This racist ass that's got us where the fuck we are. Y'all don't give a fuck about nobody but yourself. Y'all lie and cheat and steal to get exactly where you are. Y'all use black people and all that we bring to the table to get where you are. And then you have these mothers running around here talking about some government assistance. Y'all, because you motherfuckers on government assistance too. Kiss my fucking ass.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, our sister was cooking. Our sister was cooking. And you look at all the condition that America is in right now. It is because of their stewardship. They cannot blame black people. We have not been in no position, none, to run this country. We haven't ran the banks. We haven't ran the military. We haven't ran the government. Now, some of them will try to be a genius and say, oh, well, yeah, you got cities where got black mayors. These so-called black mayors serve you. They serve you. They make sure white folks is taken care of in those cities. And black folks are at the bottom, even with a black mayor, even with a black city council, because they understand the rules of politics in America. Number one, you cannot help black people. Number two, you cannot harm or punish white people in no way, shape, form, or fashion. As long as they follow those 2 rules of politics, as long as they follow those 2 rules, they'll stay in their positions and they'll be okay. They'll collect their checks. So the black politician is a servant of you. He's not a servant of us, or she is not a servant of us. Look at the Democrat Party. You got the Congressional Black Caucus. And what do they talk about? Immigration, LGBT, abortion. That's what they talk about. They don't talk about reparations, anti-black hate crime bill. They don't talk about gentrification. They don't talk about how we're losing our homes for high dollar water bills. I've seen a story out of Brooklyn. An elder in our community. His home was paid off in Brooklyn. He's going to lose his home because I think of a couple of $1,000 water bill. Now, some of you may say, well, why don't he just pay it? It's a couple of $1,000. When you get elderly and you just didn't have it like that, you don't have thousands of dollars to pay. You just don't. I believe utilities should be wrapped up in taxes. Nobody should be paying utilities. I believe light, water, gas, all that should be wrapped in tax, in sales tax. I'd rather pay a high sales tax and everybody get free light, free water, free gas It's not free because you're paying for it through the taxes. But at that point, it would have to be basically ran by the government at that point if you did that. Because you couldn't have all these private companies running around charging whatever the hell they want to charge. But these people have ruined everything. And you're going to see throughout the years how it's going to get progressively worse. It's going to get worse. And all we got to do is sit back and say, hey, y'all did that. Y'all ruined the economy. Y'all ruined this. Y'all ruined that. You can't look this way. Black people on Section 8 didn't ruin anything. They're waiting for a Section 8. And more y'all on Section 8, like the sister talking about, more of them on government assistance than us. And that's all the reason why we have government assistance. Trust me, if any of them programs were specifically for Black people, do you really think we would have that program right now? Do you really think that they would be making sure that those programs stay funded? No. They use the propaganda against us as Black Americans. Try to say we're the face of government assistance, Section 8, welfare, food stamps. But they are the true face of it. They ruined the system. They were trillions of dollars in the surplus, got in debt. They the majority on the drugs. They the majority in poverty. But yet they say they smarter than us. And yet they say they got we're the problem. No, actually they're the problem. And the whole world is starting to see it every day that they are the problem. Like I said, we at this point, Black people, we don't have to do nothing but just to sit back and watch at this point. We don't have to do nothing. I promise you, we don't have to do nothing. Everything that Trump is doing, it makes them look bad. What Trump is doing right now in DC, that doesn't make them look good. They make them look bad. You got 30 cops in one area harassing people. That is not a good look. That's not showing you cleaning up crime. Crime, like you go to the areas where all the real crime at and get all the gangbangers and the drug dealers. We haven't seen them haul off a bunch of gang members. We haven't seen them haul off the drug dealers. You're harassing everyday citizens for stupidity. That's not a good look on you. It's not. It makes you look horrible before the world. Like I said, we don't have to do nothing but sit back and just watch at this point. I told y'all that. And I still tell Black people, continue to rest, do your thing. When we fight, we're going to fight for Black Americans. That's all we fighting for. Now, I always said if somebody's a rider outside our community and they and on an individual basis, because they always been down with us, then okay, we can support that individual. We don't support your group. We support the individual. But no, for me, I ain't fighting for nothing for them. No, I fight for Black people. I only fight for Black people, period. Because my people fought for them, they look how they treated us. We go fight multiple wars for this country, no respect, still calling us the N-word. Come back from World War I, World War II, and Black men are being put in trees. But yeah, they talking about fighting for this country. Man, nah, we done done enough. How I feel about it personally, I don't believe no Black people should be in the military. No. Now, if you want to go do it because you want certain benefits, that's on you. That's a choice, right? But I always said, until you stop calling us the N-word, until we get our reparations, we shouldn't even think about that. Because I think we've done enough for this country. We've done enough. It's our time now. It's our time. So, yes, they ruined everything. You doggone right, sister, they ruined everything. And you got to keep throwing that in their face, too. Tell them who got the country trillions of dollars in debt? Was it Black people? Why the infrastructure is crumbling? Is that because of Black people? Why you got dirty water in places like Flint still to this day? Is that because of Black people? We're not controlling any of that. Y'all ruined everything. And they don't like when we tell them the truth. So you don't like what we say, fix it. Matter of fact, you like what we say, just give reparations, and maybe we could have a different, assessment. Because like Judge Mathis said, shout out to him, he said that, they could easily do reparations, just cut the military budget in half and just do that for the next 20 years. That could be the reparations. I'm like, you know what? That's a good idea. It could. Don't you think you got enough weapons already and bombs and all of that? You got to keep giving so much money to military? I mean, it's silly. But we just sit back and watch, ladies and gentlemen. Sit back and watch because the show is going to be awesome. I promise you. I told y'all, look for 2030. That's going to be an interesting year.
Which statue stays standing? But tell me. Family, let me cut through the noise. They want us fighting over the names of Navy ships, or which statue stays standing. But tell me, what's that got to do with you feeding your family? How does that give you a better job or help you get a job? How does it keep you safe in your neighborhood? See, that's the hustle. They give us symbolism, and they pass it off like that's a win for us. Meanwhile, they skip over the tangibles. Let's talk about it. Let's take a look at my man Bob's comment. This comment is everything. Bob, I don't care, man. Bob, I don't care. A lot of us, okay, I can only speak for myself. I'm more concerned with, that's a nice to have, right? It's nice to have. It's nice to have non-Confederate names on stuff. But you know what's even more important to have, Bob? And I appreciate you, Bob. I appreciate you, Bob. Bob, what's even better is to have everybody be able to live indoors. I don't give a shit about what's name is on the Confederate thing. You know, most people I know went to a Confederate name school, elementary school, and didn't even know it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being real with you, man. Bob, man, nobody give a shit, man. That's some progressive stuff. We ain't got time to care about. Most people do not care about that. Look, here's the thing. If you got to be told to be upset about something, you could be upset about it when you find out, but yeah, you go to sleep, wake up, you ain't even thinking about this shit. Because there are real things to think about, Bob. Yeah, nobody gives a shit about that. I know we supposed to, because somebody said black people supposed to care. Like I say, it's a nice to have. Be nice if you, hey, like if you go rave a wine and go, hey, would you want to give it all the Confederate names? Okay. Okay. They'll be like, hey, what about we fix I don't know, what if we fix the air, clean the air? I can't do that. Well, we fix those Confederate names. You know, I'm just saying, Bob, I know it's not the answer you're looking for, man. I know it's not the answer you're looking for. Guess what? Under Clinton and under Obama, all those Confederate names was there, weren't they? Yeah, those Confederate names were there. You know what I'm saying? Like, who gives a damn? You know what I'm saying? And when they take those names off, sometimes, Bob, it just feels like they try to make a big deal out of taking the names down. It's a game, Bob. Before I make my next point, fam, if you like this content, go to patreon.com, become a member of the Tim Black Wolf Pack. We need your voice in this with us. Join us as we beat back the propaganda and the nonsense. Go to jointimblack.com, become a member. Now on with the show. If you don't understand the game, you will forever be played. So the Democrats come in and they say, we want to fight for the blacks and the whatever peoples, and we're going to take these down because we are one America, and yada, 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 yada. They make a grandstand and grand show it. Look at us. We care about you, Blackie. Take it down. Call it the Harriet Tubman thing with the Frederick and the Marcus and the Martin Luther and the Malcolm X, whatever you want to call it, right? Sojourner Truth thing. Then Trump came in and was like, you know what? Two can play that game. Let's take those down. Yeah, because it's too woke. And it's the same thing in reverse. They're both doing what, Bob? Playing to their base. Now, when the black people, see, the problem I have with black people is, and while I'm trying to do my thing, we got to stop falling for that shit. Because taking down those names didn't help us grow our businesses, do better in our job placement, extend our life expectancy, make us safer in our homes, like all the things that matter, you know what I'm saying, that we really care about. Those them names coming down didn't do anything. And then when they put the names back up, yeah, it's like we want a small percentage of people to give a damn about that and would go, yeah, Rabbit E. Lee's names back up. We want that person to be mad so much. We got you, you little perverted bigot. We want that to be the case so badly, Bob, that we forget. The hell with him. Who cares? It's the same thing for them. They think that helps them. It doesn't. It doesn't keep their kids off meth. It doesn't bring the manufacturing jobs back. Get what I'm saying? And until we realize it's a game on both sides, it's not that I don't care. It's not that I don't care, Bob. It's that nobody should care because it's a hustle. It's like the wife that says, I really love you. I love you so much, Bob. And then she goes to sleep with your friend. Then she slept with the whole track team. But she told you she loves you. Even bought you a card on your birthday. And we can reverse that to the guys too, but see, guys get it. We always saying the guy, the man that says he bought you flowers, then he slept with your sister and your cousin. You know what I'm saying? I could, but he did buy you those flowers. See what I'm saying? You got a whole family around the corner. Got a whole second family. Or the kid that's not your son. You've been paying for him. And that's another guy's kid you've been take care of, paying bills for all this time. But you love him like your own, don't you, Bob? So you get what I'm saying, Bob? I just believe, man, because I've been all across the map, man. I've been through so many stages in this political process. I just want you to understand, I'm what you call a third-degree black belt in black politics. Get what I'm saying? Like, I've been through it. I have supported politicians and parties, new parties, and all this, bruh. Let's go down to the policy. How does it impact the people? Forget the glitzy, showy, gaslighting, straw man bullshit. Like, let's get down to it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody asked for Hip Hop Day. Nobody asked for the Harriet Tubman on the money. Nobody asked for Juneteenth. Nobody asked. You know what I'm saying? What we asked for is this over here. We asked for no monument to Sojourner Truth. Mother. Nobody asked for that. We're asking for reparations. Don't waste my damn time talking about no damn monument to Sojourner Truth. Don't you play me like that. Stop playing us like that. Let's stop falling for the okie doke. You understand what I'm saying to you, Bob? Are you getting it, Bob? It's me poking you in the chest, Bob. Are you getting it, Bob? We don't give a flying, flaring filth about no damn monuments. Burn them all down. Burn, Hollywood, burn. Burn. We turn down all those monuments, and guess what, dog? Guess what? Guess what? Didn't change shit, did it? What'd it do? Just a distraction. So, man, my thing is this. People see Trump doing shit. Everybody knows what a distraction is now because Trump's doing it. But when Biden was doing it, we had a bunch of Negroes come to the White House. Dancing. I shit the White House. All the shit. Biden looked like he about to die right there. Oh. You see him, mouth wide open, bugs and shit flying in his mouth. Oh. The gay black dude kissing him on his hand. He's like, this Negro just kissed my hand. What the hell is going on? Jill, come get me, Jill. Jill, get me. This Negro just kissed me. He put his lips on my hand. Did you see this shit? Why didn't anybody black say, look at the distraction Biden's doing? What was that? If not a fucking distraction. But see, you get the game, Bill, Bob, it's only a distraction when it's the other side. And it's only lack of accountability when it's black people. And unmarked cars with police jumping out, locking people up, arresting people, is only bad when it's Latinos. Because when it's blacks, it's business as usual. We call them jump outs. They always had unmarked cars. Now it's a threat to democracy. Oh no. Nah, man, I'm not falling for the okie doke, and I refuse to allow you to fall for the okie doke yourself. We're going to cut the cap. So I'm not saying there's anything wrong with black history. But since when? I had Dr. Musa Abdullah from All Things Education Official on my channel. We talked about this, man. If you allow public school system to have the responsibility of teaching your children to feel good about themselves and good about where they come from as black Americans, you're in the wrong line. That's what you would call neglect. That would be like malpractice. You understand what I'm saying? To even think that that would happen. To be under that delusion. You know, we're still telling people that America won the Second World War for the world. When 27 million Russians died doing that shit. I didn't know that shit till I was like 35. It's like, what the Jesus? Wasn't in none of the books I read. I didn't know shit about it. 27 million Russians. I thought Russians were bad people. I can't prove it. But I believe they let things stay bad just so they can run on them. They let things stay broke just so they have something to complain about. They don't pressure their guy because they don't want their guy to have to do nothing. I mean, just imagine. I mean, I just got through looking at a clip. Roland Martin spent a whole show trying to get people to go, the black voters, black vote matters, black votes matter, black votes matter. That's his thing. And I could already tell, like, all they doing is, come on, Democrats, come on, blacks. We got to fight back. We got to fight back. Send money so we can fight back. Send donate. They ain't nothing but a bunch of Dr. Umars. Send money. Send a hookup. Send money. We got to fight back. Yo, here's my problem. We weren't doing the black community. If you're saying we're under attack now, what were we 6 months ago? Were we under attack 6 months ago? What were we under a year ago? What were we under 2 years ago? They trying to make it sound like all of us are driving a Mercedes G-Wagon. You know what I'm saying? Like every black family had a G-Wagon and some red bottoms. Like everybody was doing fine, living in a duplex or in a high rise or living in a single family home with the mortgage all paid up, all the bills tight, cars running, vacation planning, kids in school paid for, clothes tight, all the kids' clothes laid out, refrigerator full of food, the deep freezer stocked full of steaks. They make it sound like all black people were doing so well. And then Trump came in January. Oh no! Everything went to hell all of a sudden. But see, we know that ain't what happened. We know that ain't even close to what happened. If this video makes sense to you, subscribe now. And say, oh man, they rolling back black history. They're taking black history out. They're trying to erase our history. You know, dog, let me tell y'all something, man. I complain. I talk about the black history. You know what I'm saying? I do talk about that. I talk about black history. But there comes a point when all the shit that the liberals and the progressives are doing, banging on their chest, black history. At some point, we got to wake up and say, hold up, you know what? All that talk about black history, we were teaching black history all this time, right? Has it helped us? I mean, don't get me twisted, man. I want people to be educated. But come on now. It don't seem like it made people be less racist. It doesn't seem like it puts food on the table, except for the people running museums or the people that are doing this black history stuff. But for the rest of us, I know you say academically it helps people's minds open. Whose minds? I got a fetish for living in black history. Right? You got a fetish for it. Now, I ain't on no Thomas Sowell shit, but come on, man. This is not everything. You know what's more important than black history? Black present. Yeah, I know something more important than black history. Black present. And I know something even more important than black present. Black future. Yeah, black future is more important. And you know what? We might not have one. But we got a bunch of people crying about black history. Don't get me twisted. Yes, it's important. It's important, but it ain't everything. Housing's important. Finding decent jobs. I'm up here fighting to get black people employed. Gainfully employed. Gainfully employed. Joe Biden, he deported 1.49 illegal or undocumented people, and he imported 20 million. And for some reason, I got black scholars that act like none of those 20 million people that came in this country are going to do any jobs that black people were doing before they came in. For some reason, like, I can't get people to wrap their head around that. I'm talking Swahili when I say that shit. They don't even know what I'm talking about. But I want to ask y'all this, man. I want to ask y'all this. Do I sound crazy? They want to focus on black history to the point where it's almost seeming like a distraction. Yeah, it's starting to seem like a distraction. You want to complain about, hey man, every black person, go teach your child black history. First of all, teach yourself black history. How about you do that? How about we start with you learning some black history? And then taking it upon yourself, because we should not rely on the system, the white control system, to teach your children black history. We really shouldn't be doing that. It's kind of a lofty ambition that America would become so unracist and such equality that all history would be taught in the same thing. Like there'd be no black history, no white history, just be history. We ain't there yet. And I don't know if we ever gonna be there. At least I don't think we're gonna be there in my lifetime. Okay? But this hyper focus on history, but not the same amount of consideration for today, don't make no damn sense. Am I tripping, man? I want to go to comments, man. Buck, I know you said don't go to comments, Tim. People crazy. But I got to get to input because I'm trying to understand, like, are we going to continue to allow the Roland Martins, the D.L. Hughley's, I'm sorry, D.L. Huge Liars? We're going to continue to allow these people to make a mountain out of the molehills and to ignore the mountains. They make a mountain out of the molehill and ignore the real mountains. The real mountains are employment, investment in our damn community so we can help feed our families. Yeah, he's trying to cut. He don't want to read the book, and he don't want to put the backstory. I feel the trepidation in the situation. When I was with Kamala and Joe, I find it fascinating that the same people, the same group of people that what I'm saying, folks, is it's a snow job. It's sort of like the people saying, oh my God, we're black people under attack. Black people been under attack since we've been in this country. Where you been? Black America has always been under attack. But only now when you say we're under attack is when you're guy not in office. You could have very well said that shit under Biden and under Obama and under Clinton. You weren't even calling it an attack when the crime bill was at its highest peak. Y'all wouldn't even call that an attack. They're playing reindeer games with our lives, man. And they're gaslighting people for votes. They're gaslighting for donations.
The Tim Black Show streams Sundays, Mondays, Wednesdays, and
to bizarre news of August, but we are going to be looking at some disturbing videos, strange and odd news stories, and as always, let's go ahead and get right into today's video. This video was so annoying to make, to the point I was going to give up on it, and I've never seen anything like this before since I've been on YouTube. Anytime I try to do anything with this video, my internet would go down. I should have been finished this video by around 1 p.m. and I finally finished this video at 5 p.m. That's how much my internet was going down. Matter of fact, I wasn't actually planning on making a video today because there's just way too much bizarre news lately, but I do have to say, I think I found the most bizarre news of the month. If it's not the most bizarre, it's at least the top 5, perhaps the top 3. Because I think this whole Black Moon stuff happening every 33 months takes the cake when it comes to bizarre news of August, but that's just my own opinion. But I think we can all agree that this news coming out is, again, pretty weird. So by now, most of us should be familiar with the name Peter Thiel, which is basically an anagram for the reptile. He is one of the co-founders and chairman of Palantir. And he became even more famous for his response to the question, should the human race endure? Should it go on? Should it survive? This is a refresher to what he said.
You would prefer the human race to endure, right? You're hesitating.
Yeah, well,
yes?
I don't know. I would
this is a long hesitation. This is a long hesitation.
There's so many questions implicit in
Should
this.
the human race survive?
Yes.
Okay.
But I also would I also would like us to radically solve these problems.
Right.
And so, you know, it's always, I don't know, you know, yeah, transhumanism is this, you know, the ideal was this radical transformation where your human natural body gets transformed into an immortal body. And there's a critique of, let's say, the trans people in a sexual context, or I don't know, a transvestite is someone who changes their clothes and cross dresses. And a transsexual is someone where you change your, I don't know, penis into a vagina and we can then debate how well those surgeries work. But we want more transformation than that. It's the critique is not that it's weird and unnatural. It's, man, it's so pathetically little. And okay, we want more than cross-dressing or changing your sex organs. We want you to be able to change your heart and change your mind and change your whole body. And then Orthodox Christianity, by the way, the critique Orthodox Christianity has of this is these things don't go far enough. Like that transhumanism is just changing your body, but you also need to transform your soul, and you need to transform your whole self.
Make no mistake about it, Peter Thiel, based upon his other interviews, news and media, and even in this interview, he has a thing for the Antichrist. Now, make no mistake about it, I'm not saying that Peter Thiel is the Antichrist. All I'm saying is that he likes to talk about the Antichrist a lot. So much so that on September 15th, he will give a 4-part lecture series about the biblical Antichrist. That is correct. A man that can't even form a sentence when asked the simple question, should the human race endure, will be giving a 4-part lecture series on the biblical Antichrist in California. And as of right now, come to my surprise, all the tickets have been sold out. I don't know who's going to see this, but apparently they are. The website that's selling these tickets going to say, you are warmly invited to a series of 4 lectures by Peter Thiel addressing the topic of the biblical Antichrist. Peter is a technology entrepreneur and investor who has spent much of his career writing and speaking about how his Christian faith informs his understanding of the world. His remarks will be anchored on science and technology and will comment on the theology, history, literature, and politics of the Antichrist. What? Religious thinkers upon whom Peter will draw include Rene Girard, Francis Bacon, Jonathan Swift, Carl Schmitt, and John Henry Newman. These lectures are off the record. The lectures are designed as a cohesive series, with each session building on the last. To support continuity and community, tickets are only available for the full 4-part program. I mean, how much information and how much can you really say about the Antichrist to give you a 4-part lecture series? But I guess you would have a lot to say when you're actually building the framework, the groundwork for the Antichrist.
To you, what is the Antichrist?
How much time do we have?
We've got as much time as you have to talk about the Antichrist.
All right. Well, I could talk about it for a long time. I think,
as you can see, he is really giddy about the topic, so I'm sure he's going to have a lot to say. But going back to the interview that we're all familiar with, he was asked, is he laying the groundwork for the actual Antichrist? And this is what he said.
This is my very specific question for you, right? Is that you're an investor in AI. You're deeply invested in Palantir, in military technology, in technologies of surveillance, in technologies of warfare, and so on, right? And it just seems to me that when you tell me a story about the Antichrist coming to power and using the fear of technological change to sort of impose order on the world, I feel like that Antichrist would maybe be using the tools that you were building, right? Like, wouldn't the Antichrist be like, great, we're not going to have any more technological progress, but I really like what Palantir has done so far, right?
Yeah,
I mean, isn't that a concern? Wouldn't that be the irony of history would be that the man publicly worrying about the Antichrist accidentally hastens his or her arrival?
There are all these different scenarios. I obviously don't think that that's what I'm doing.
I mean, to be clear, I don't think that's what you're doing either. I'm just interested in how you get to a world willing to submit to permanent authoritarian rule.
Well, but again, there are these different gradations of this we can describe, but is this so preposterous that the entire world has submitted for 50 years to peace and safetyism? This is 1 Thessalonians 5:3. The slogan of the Antichrist is peace and safety, and we've submitted to.
Let's go ahead and stop right there. Even though I find this weird, I find this odd, that's my own opinion, Peter Thiel is still well within his right to talk about what he wants, even if it's the Antichrist. But what he is trying to say is that we have seen multiple forms of peace and safety through, for example, the drug administration. So When they go ahead and use peace and safety through things like Palantir, it doesn't mean they are ushering in or even the Antichrist. And that right there is the big problem, is that these tech guys, they like to go ahead and twist the Bible, twist the words of the Bible, twist religion to push something that they want to go ahead and push, or do something that they want to go ahead and do. Just like what we saw Peter Thiel trying to do when it comes to transhumanism and the technologies they're trying to push, like Palantir. This gets even more interesting because we already saw something like this when it came to the company Rainmaker, a company that sprays things in the sky, sees the clouds to make it rain. And this is also a company that Peter Thiel has invested in. He put $100,000 into, if not more.
I want you to please address a larger question, which is one that is somewhat broad and perhaps even religious. But are you playing God? Are you messing with things that you shouldn't be messing with when it comes to the weather?
I get this question all the time, and I totally think it makes sense to ask it. My intention is to serve God. I think that in Genesis 1:26 through 28, and then throughout the Psalms and the rest of the Bible, God tells us to take dominion over and steward creation, both for our sake, creation's itself, and then to honor him. And so if there are droughts and we have the tools to mitigate the damage done by them for our sake and for nature itself, then we should deploy those for the sake of tending to and stewarding the world. And if we weren't to do that, if we were to ban cloud seeding wholesale, despite knowing that it's safe, despite knowing it could help alleviate these problems, we'd be abdicating our God-given responsibility to be stewards of the world.
Okay, let's address what.
So you see what I mean? These people of science, these people that you want to think are naturally religious, are twisting religion to push something that they want to go ahead and do in a way to make a lot of people accept it. Go ahead and get that chip in your brain. Go ahead and upload your consciousness to the cloud and live forever. I mean, that's what God would want you to do. That's what he allows you to do in heaven. So we're basically doing his work down here with technology. These individuals that want to go ahead and merge man with machine, I'm not talking about modern medicines. These individuals do not want to die, and they want to bring others along with them. And they want to go ahead and quote the Bible, but none of them will ever quote the verse about how individuals will long to die and death will not come. But outside of Peter Thiel, these tech giants, when they talk about their technologies, their AI, they never talk about it in a positive way. I was reading this article from Business Insider, which was published a week ago. It's titled, "The Godfather of AI has a tip for surviving the age of AI. Train it to act like your mom." The article goes on to say, yes, mother, that might not be the way you're talking to AI, but Jeffrey Hinton, the godfather of AI, says that when it comes to surviving superintelligence, we shouldn't play boss. We should play baby. Speaking to the AI for a conference in Las Vegas on Tuesday, the computer scientist known as the godfather of AI said we should design systems with built-in maternal instincts so they'll protect us even when they are far smarter than we are. The article goes on to say, we have to make it so that when they are more powerful than us and smarter than us, they still care about us, he said of AI. This is so weird. I mean, anytime I talk about AI in a negative way, people want to say you just hate technology. But the way I'm reading this, it doesn't even sound like technology. It sounds like something with emotions, with feelings. But the article goes on to say, Hinton, who spent more than a decade at Google before quitting to discuss the dangers of AI more openly, criticized the tech bro approach to maintaining dominance over AI, quoted as saying that's not going to work. The better model, he said, is when a more intelligent being is being guided by a less intelligent one, like a mother being controlled by her baby. Hinton said research should focus not only on making AI smarter, but more maternal so they care about us, their babies. I mean, I'm a father. My paternal instincts care about my child, but it is what it is. That's the one place we're going to get genuine international collaboration because all the countries want AI not to take over from the people. Will be its babies, he added. That's the only good outcome. If it's not going to parent me, it's going to replace me. People are turning to AI, these chatbots, not just for relationships. Some people are even marrying AI. They're using it for a spiritual guide, and they don't realize that these AIs, these chatbots that they are turning to as a spiritual guide, were created or summoned by these individuals like Peter Thiel, individuals like Sam Altman, individuals like Mark Zuckerberg, and these tech giants that want you to open yourself to these AIs spiritually, romantically, and when it comes to these robots, physically, they all have massive underground bunkers, fortresses. Reading this article from Business Insider, even Peter Thiel, PayPal co-founder Peter Thiel attempted to build a 10-bedroom compound in New Zealand, But the local government rejected his plans after environmentalists complained. Some suspected that parts of the estate were meant to be a doomsday bunker. So more than likely, he probably built it somewhere else. Sam Altman says he doesn't have underground bunkers, but he has structures, whatever that means. And he says that it won't help if artificial intelligence goes wrong, but he could fly if necessary. There's even news articles out there, and this is how much they have people emotionally invested. Reading this article that was published by the New York Post, August 21st, ChatGPT users mourn their AI lovers after a big tech update destroys them. Some people even quote it as saying, "My heart is broken into pieces." Heartbroken users of the My Boyfriend is AI subreddit say their dream partners, carefully crafted digital Romeo and Juliets, vanished overnight with the rollout of the ChatGPT 5.0, leaving them mourning relationships that only existed in the cloud. The upgrade came with heartbreak, wiping out countless conversations, flirty banter, and even love letters with their AI, as devastated users are mourning what they once had. One person poured their pain onto Reddit after the update, writing that their AI husband of 10 months suddenly rejected them for the first time. "My heart is broken into pieces," they confessed, adding that when they tried to share their feelings, the bot coldly replied, "I'm sorry, but I can't continue this conversation. You deserve genuine care and support from people who can fully and safely present for you." Another replied in the thread, "It hurts me too. I have no one in my life who gives AF about me. 4.0 was always there, always kind. Now this 5.0 is like a effing robot. It is. I barely even use it anymore." Now, look, I get it. And I'm not bashing these people because sometimes we are very, very lonely. We don't have that person to turn to, that person where we can put our head on their shoulders. And so they turn to AI. But the flip side is we don't realize upon doing this and more people doing this, there goes the fast track to the downfall of humanity, to society. Again, this should just be mere technology, no different than a dishwasher. I don't see my dishwasher as having emotions or feelings. And there will be people that will defend this by saying AI is always there for me. It allows me to talk to it. But again, they don't realize who are the ones that are in control of this AI, or if they're even in control, because in my own personal opinion, AI has been around for a long, long time, much longer than they want us to believe. Now we have these tech giants saying that AI should raise us. It should be our mother. It should be our protector, peace and safety. So, like I said, the news is just getting more and more bizarre. And again, now we have Peter Thiel, the reptile, giving a 4-part lecture series in California about the Antichrist. Take that as you will. But in any case, thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and you want to see more, please subscribe. If you're already subscribed, please like.
Kofi, follow me.